So I think the first thing I want to talk about, just because I'm super excited about it. So, what was it? It was what, yesterday or the day before? I think that was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. It was Tuesday. So Tuesday morning, Nintendo dropped a surprise trailer for Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, and I literally, when I saw it in my YouTube feed, I audibly gasped. I was like, I was so excited because I love this game and I've been waiting for them to bring it over for a long time. Like, I had considered off and on trying to just emulate the Wii U version on my Steam Deck, which would work fine. Um, but like, I really would have just preferred having a physical version of the game, especially because the Wii U version I only have digitally, and um, I wanted a way to play it on a modern device without having to go the emulation route. And here it is. I mean, it's now with this one coming to the Switch on March 20th. I just realized I'm already talking about my thoughts about this whole thing. I guess I'll back up and talk about that more later. But with this coming to the Switch, this will make it so that every single Xenoblade game will be on Switch. And that's pretty cool. So I'll get back into my thoughts, but let you have a chance to talk about it for your thoughts first.
Yeah, so it's definitely neat that this has finally come over. It's considering the fact that what Xenoblade Chronicles 1 came out 2-3 years ago for the Switch, and or
It was 2020.
2020, so 4 years ago, and they considering the fact that they ported over other Wii U games, the fact that they didn't port over Xenoblade Chronicles X definitely is a bit baffling, but as you said, now all the Xenoblade games are available on one platform, which is definitely pretty cool. Now, Chronicles X was the first Xenoblade game that I played, and I remembered getting excited for the game, and I went ahead when it was available and I bought the special edition. And I played it, I really liked what I played. The problem was, and this is something that's partially has to do with the time of things, is the fact that it was when I was starting to when I started more to play, or trying to play it in handheld form. So I was primarily playing a lot on just the tablet. But the problem is with the fact is the Wii U tablet has a horrible battery life. So whenever I wanted to play it like in bed, I had to charge up the gamepad like beforehand, essentially, because of the fact that I was not going to get a long playtime doing it that way. Now, sure, sometimes I did play it on my TV screen, but sometimes I really just liked having that handheld playability. So because of that, unfortunately, I didn't get too far into the game. Like, I don't think I finished like the main, I guess you could say, first chapter of the game.
Wow.
But what I did play of it, I really enjoyed. I really liked, and it's really just a shame. I think that I didn't really get all that far into it, but the fact that we have a new version is pretty cool. I really like that. I really like that, and so I might. I'll see what happens. I'll see what happens there. Now, one thing that maybe it could be something with some sort of buffering or not or whatnot, but a couple times during the trailer they showed, it looked like there was a little bit of stuttering. Which maybe it's just the way things are rendering on my end, but I was just a tad bit concerned about that, but I don't think overall there were too many issues I saw with that. Now, one last thing that I thought that was pretty cool is, and considering the fact that this is, I believe, should have all the DLC included, is I saw something posted, I believe on one of my Discord servers, is that the file size for Chronicles X Definitive version is actually smaller than the Wii U version, which, wow. I mean, I definitely believe that there have been some enhancements to the visuals and graphics and whatnot. So it's pretty cool then if the game with the DLC is smaller than the original Wii U game. That I thought was pretty cool. But with that being said, that is everything that I have on my mind. So I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, first of all, I gotta ask, did you ever think about plugging in your gamepad while you were in bed?
I did. The problem was, unfortunately, where I had my outlet, especially with the power strip located, it was a bit too far, so I would have to be playing over the edge of my bed if it was connected.
All right, that works.
But yeah, I did try it a couple times because, especially when I was playing some other Wii U games, I was like, yeah, I want to play this in handheld mode, or what was considered a handheld mode at the time before we got the Switch, but it wasn't completely viable.
All right, so let's see here. I'm trying to think of where I want to start with this. I mean, as I mentioned before, obviously I was super excited when I saw this trailer, because I absolutely love this game. I did not 100% it, but I did complete the story and did a handful of the side stuff and everything. Just this is like, in my opinion, this is probably peak in terms of gameplay for Xenoblade for the most part. 3 might beat it out, which is saying a lot because, I mean, 3 of course also has an excellent story, whereas X does not. X's story was pretty weak and was definitely shorter. There's so many things I love about X. Most of all, it's the exploration. It just really has the XPloration. It has a massive open world. Your movement is considerably faster because you can actually sprint, which you can't do in the other Xenoblade games, and all of the numbered ones. You don't take fall damage at all, which is a very nifty feature. And then you also have the skells, which are like the mechs that you get. And you don't get those until it's roughly about 30 hours into the game that you actually get them. But, I mean, your movement is still really good, even on foot, because you can sprint, and so you move really fast, and you can jump really high, and you don't take fall damage, no matter how high you fall from. And so just all those things together are excellent. The music is incredible. The only thing I will say is that I think the battle themes are probably the weakest part of this game, with the exception of the unique boss fight theme, Uncontrollable, which is in a fantastic song. But like this one has a lot of vocal pieces to it. More of the songs have vocals than any of the other Xenoblade games. And it's Hiroyuki Sawano is the composer for this. But seriously, like the soundtrack is amazing, especially the overworld themes. I think this one has the best overworld themes of all the games. Because like Chronicles has some great, I mean, all of them have great themes here and there, but I think X has the most excellent of all the overworld themes, whereas the other Xenoblade games have the best battle themes. So, all that being said, I don't know. There's just a lot of different things I can gush about with this game. The differences in the visuals were very noticeable. Of course, the biggest thing being the character models are much better than they were in the original game, because before they really just everyone looked like dolls, and it just was kind of jarring. Like, I didn't mind the art style, but it was just the way, I don't know, it was just weird. And I mean, there's still some of that in this, but like they fixed especially the main characters, which is really nice. All of them look a lot better. I watched a side-by-side comparison trailer looking at this and the Wii U version, and the Wii U version has very much a brown tint to everything, and this one does not. And so it's like much more colorful as a result. Like I remembered the Wii U version being really colorful, and it technically is, but when you compare the two side by side, the Wii U version definitely has a very like a brown filter over the video, and over the entire game. And I'll be playing some footage that I have recorded from the Wii U version here, from like later game post story. I mean, it's not spoiling anything, of course, because it's just general fighting enemies in the overworld. But yeah, I'm super excited about this. One of the things that I mean, there's definitely some things that I hope that they will update and or just completely change. But one thing I do want to note, this is just a big thing for me and for most of us who are fans of the game, of the original game, is that this one is going to have additional story content, which based on the teaser, the end of the trailer teaser they had, looks like it's going to pick up from where the cliffhanger left off in the original game. Which is fantastic, because it's like that's one aspect of the story that was just like a huge cliffhanger. We never got a sequel. We never got any like story DLC, nothing like that. And so getting that is super exciting. And man, I'm really looking forward to it. But the things that I would like to see changed that they haven't confirmed one way or the other, apart from them adding the additional story, which they've already said that they're going to have additional story, they just haven't clarified what specifically that's going to look like. I want them to, number one, above all else, make it so that when you are flying in your Skell, you can turn off the song that plays during that time, because the song is not a bad song. It's actually a pretty good song. But the problem is that when you start flying, it always starts the song at the very beginning, and it cuts off the overworld music. And most of the time, I just want to keep listening to the overworld music. Like, it was really cool to hear that song the very first time you get in the Skell and start flying. Like, that's super cool. But after that, I'm just like, I could go without it. I'd much rather listen to the overworld themes, because the overworld themes are so good. So I hope that they change that, or at least make that possible. But otherwise, like, they don't have to do a ton with this game in order for it to be good. Of course, I wish it would be 60 frames per second, but I know it won't be unless they do like a patch for the Switch 2 version that makes it possible, which quite honestly could almost convince me to buy a Switch 2. Or at least, to buy it before the OLED version comes out. But it's just like, this is a massive game, and regardless of how much they add to it, like, there's a lot of stuff I never did in the original game. Mostly side stuff, super bosses, that sort of thing. And I would very much like to just spend a lot more time on it. Plus, I mean, it's coming out almost 10 years after... I mean, technically, it's right about 10 years after it originally came out in Japan. And... because it came out in Japan in April of 2015, and then the US in December. And I'm happy to start from scratch. I actually would kind of rather, because like there were a couple times here and there where I tried going back and playing some more of the game, after having already finished the story, just to do some DLC and everything. And it just like, I don't know if I really want to do this right now. Like, I kind of would rather just, I just, like, I don't want to start over from scratch, or I didn't want to start over from scratch on the Wii U version because of how much time I'd put into it already. But I also didn't really want to grind to get myself ready to do the other stuff. And so I ended up just not doing that ever. But, I very much am looking forward to playing this again. I just wish it was 60 frames. But I think that there are plenty of potential ways that they could make this game better than it was in the original, apart from the things we already know that they're doing, which is, adding the story DLC, fixing the character models, and that sort of thing. But I'm sure there will be some quality of life improvements that will make it even better, and they'll probably still maintain all the things that were great about it in the first place. But I think that's really about all I have to say.
Yeah. I want to add one last comment and something that you brought up that I had no clue about, and that is the fact that there's no fall damage.
Yeah.
Because I spent so much time trying to backtrack, especially if I went up a high slope, and I thought, oh man, I went the wrong way. I need to go back, and so I backtracked completely, and now I realize I could have just jumped and would have been fine.
Yep.
So that's definitely something I will keep in mind for the future. If I get back into the game, is to just leap and not waste time going backwards.
Right. One thing I do want to note for anybody who is on the fence about whether or not they would want to play this because they're afraid of having to worry about having never played like the other Xenoblade games, you do not this one has no connection story-wise at all to the other Xenoblade games. So you can play this without ever having touched the other games, and you won't have any problems at all with it from that standpoint. So, plus, like I said, the story, you have to go into this, especially if you're someone who's played the other Xenoblade games and really enjoys the story. You have to go into this knowing that the story is nowhere near, well, the main story on its own, without doing a bunch of side stuff, is nowhere near as deep or as enthralling, I guess you could say, as the other Xenoblade stories. Like, it still has some twists and turns, and it's still interesting in its own right, but compared to the other Xenoblade games, it's much less the emphasis. The gameplay is, like, much more the emphasis of this game than anything else. And something that's also good to know is that this is the game that helped Breath of the Wild become what it was, because it was what they did with this game that they used to help because they helped make Breath of the Wild, and what made it such, that open world masterpiece that it ended up being. So that's something good. They still are saying that this is an independent story, but based on something that I saw in the trailer, they may be retconning some stuff to where this could end up being connected to the other Xenoblade games. I don't know if that's going to happen. And I would say that even if it does, it shouldn't really matter whether you've played the other games. But, because, you got to keep in mind, this game came out second. It was the one that came out after the first Xenoblade Chronicles, before they had, the continuation of a story that, continued with 2 and 3 that were connected, just not, like, they weren't sequels per se, but they were. It's hard to explain without spoiling anything. So, yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say on that matter, though. I guess I do have one last thing that I hope that they fix, and that is making it so that there's actual, like, collisions with the cars instead of just being able to walk right through them when you're in New LA. Because you literally could just run right through them, and they don't stop. You can't walk on top of them or anything. They just stay there, and you run right through them. No collision detection whatsoever. But yeah, that's all I got. All right.
Nothing additional for me.
Sounds good.